We are back in on Three Dog Thursday, another video roundtable edition, and I've got a couple of my faves back on the panel. Let's say hello in Las Vegas. You hear him 5 days a week on the TC Martin Show, tcmartinshow.com, and he's even expanding. They can't get enough of him in Vegas. He's expanding to a 2-hour weekday afternoon show starting this Monday. Too Cold, TC Martin, initials brother from another mother. How you feeling?
TJ Reeves, always great to be with you, my man about in Tampa. And we have this strong debate here. What is the epicenter of sports? Well, currently we know, and it always has been, Las Vegas. It's not Tampa anymore, Kevin Cash, okay?
We'll get into that. I still am rocking the epicenter hats of the Rays and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who last I checked rolled into Vegas and conquered the Raiders last weekend. We'll get to that. Brett Norsworthy is with me, a.k.a. Stats. He and Dave Woloshin, my longtime radio buddies and colleagues in Memphis, Tennessee. Wolo and Stats have been killing it on the airwaves there for about 2 decades. Stats, good to have you, brother.
Great to be with y'all, and great always to be in the two sin cities, Tampa, St. Pete, and Vegas.
I don't know how we rank on that. All right, let's get right in. At the time that we're talking, congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers are in order. I didn't know when we lined this up to tape this if we would be talking about a Game 7 or if we would be talking about a Dodgers championship, but here it is. We're seeing it on screen, and again, if you're not seeing us, find us on the YouTube page. If you're only hearing us on Apple Podcast or Spotify, we're showing video on the YouTube Roundtable. There it is. The Dodgers got the final outs last night in a 3-1 win to win game number 6 of the best of 7 and win their first baseball world championship since 1988. Oral Hershiser and company winning it in 1988. So the Dodgers are the champs. I'll bring it back now on the screen to our panel and start with, let's go with Brett first in Memphis. Your thoughts here on the Dodgers getting it done?
All together now, Dodgers win it for the first time since 1988. I think everybody's had that note, 32 years. And last time it was Oral Hershiser as the hero. And this time, Clayton Kershaw was probably the hero pitching. I don't know the answer to this, but when was the last time a pitcher with a single-digit number was on the mound to close out the World Series? Because I can't stand that. I can't stand pitchers with single-digit numbers. And there were a bunch of them last night with Snell and Urias closing it out for the Dodgers. But congrats to the Dodgers. They make the 14th different champion in the 21st century. The Nats got in the club last year. The Dodgers get their first one in the 21st century. And you'd have to say the Rays would be the leaders in the clubhouse to be number 15 this time next year.
TJ, can I ask Brett, would he rather see a punter on the mound or an offensive lineman?
Well, I would rather see a punter.
He's big on, like, a punter should not be wearing 68 or whatever. He's big on the numbers.
And that's my point exactly. Punter wearing a single digit, or offensive lineman with these pitchers' numbers. I mean, how many offensive linemen have we seen on the mound wearing the 60s and the 70s, even the 80s? I'm with you, my man.
I'm there, TC, and I can't stand in college to see the littlest guy out there kicking and wearing like number 94.
Right. Yeah, which happens a lot in college. All right, let's continue on the baseball theme because there is a lot of outrage in the Tampa Bay area about Blake Snell, the starting pitcher, having been pulled. We're going to get into the whole thing. I want to show you Nostradamus TC Martin from last night with the way Snell was pitching. And there had been a lot of talk. He's only going to go 6 innings because this is what they normally do. But my man TC put this up after the 4th inning last night. We're seeing it again on the YouTube video of our conversation, that with 9 strikeouts through 4 innings, don't screw it up. Well, that is, in fact, what Kevin Cash ended up doing, because he promptly went out to the mound after 1 batter in the 6th inning, and there is the indelible image of Blake Snell being pulled from the game despite only allowing 2 hits and having, 10 or 11 strikeouts at that point. Took him out of the game, the whole by the analytic Bible mentality for the Tampa Bay Rays. We'll come back here on the screen to TC. All right, it's on a platter. Go ahead.
You know, I've never been a Kevin Cash fan. I've never been a Joe Madden fan. And we talk about this all the time, about these managers who try to overthink and outsmart the opponent, and all they do is they outsmart themselves. And again, it was predictable. We knew this was going to happen. as a betting guy, like I am and many of us here in Las Vegas, even you guys out there, I was afraid to bet on the Rays last night. But I said the Dodgers are going to go bullpen game. That doesn't work, okay? It's not going to work for the Dodgers. And the way Snell pitched earlier on in the series, I said, in game 2, I said, this is going to be a great night for Snell. And then we saw that right from the get-go. I mean, just rolled through batters 1 through 4. 0 for 8. Betts, Seager, Turner, 7 strikeouts. Are you kidding me? But when they kept leaving runners on base in the first few innings, said something bad is going to happen here. And as the Dodgers hang close, and if it's only a 1-0 game, Kevin Cash could come back to haunt Rays fans. And sure enough, it happened. Call it a broken bat single, a little looper, your number 9 hitter from Barnes. He gets on immediately. Cash goes out and marches right to the mound. This is what infuriated me. No conversation like my guy Dusty Baker did with Zach Greinke, which we saw a couple weeks ago, but just immediately hook, bring him in, and that Tampa Bay bullpen, I don't care your flamethrowers. Bottom line is, biggest game of their lives. They're young. I'm going to say it. They were pissing their pants. The Dodgers were going to be elated. Dodgers are going to be elated the moment they saw Blake Snell exit.
They said that after the game. Bellinger said it. Betts said it. They were thrilled that they were taking Snell out of the game.
So we knew it was going to happen. We knew this was bound to happen. There's no way in the world that Cash was going to let his guy continue on in a loser leave town match like this was. You have to go with your ace, and you ride this man until his arm falls off. That's what's infuriating. 73 pitches. And here's the thing that really got me as I'm listening to Blake Snell and Kevin Cash in the post-game press conference. Kevin Cash said, I did not want Betts specifically in the top of the order to see Snell again. What does that tell his pitcher? What does that tell your team? It says, I don't trust you. I don't trust my own guy. I trust the opposition more than I trust my guy. How can you believe in that manager? How can you play for that manager? That's insane.
I trust the analytics Bible, if you will, more than I trust you.
That too, but the underlying message here is I trust their guys more than I trust my own guy. That's ludicrous.
All right, Brett Norsworthy, sound off. The stage is yours.
You just have to wonder, when will the Rays get this close again? Because if they don't win it in the short sprint year, then you have to feel like next year or whenever we get back to normal, that the Yankees and the Red Sox, that their money and that their power, that they will catch the Rays in the end. And for Kevin Cash, you live by the sword and you die by it. And TC's right. I mean, it just felt like he would die by it. And for Blake Snell, who really didn't want to play this year, then when he did, he was really good. But his manager wouldn't leave him out there in the most important time of the year. You felt the bloop and the blast coming, and the Dodgers batters had to be doing handstands to get him out of there. There's no way. It doesn't matter who they bring in. They could not have the stuff that Snell had.
I would agree. All right, so there's several points that need to be made. First of all, the Rays live by this. They swear by it. It is an organizational thing from their GM, from all the way down from the top, from their president, Matt Silverman, to the GM, Eric Neander. They swear by the analytics. They swear by the stuff. It should be noted, Snell, the third time through the order, the batting average goes up like 300 points. The ERA goes up like 6 runs. We know that. The second point about this, though, is it is, as Brett said, Game 6, TC said it too, elimination game. He's only thrown 73 pitches, and it is do or die. And so we already saw examples where they kind of eschewed the book, try to steal of home, which the analytic heads go absolutely crazy on. Don't ever steal a base, much less try to steal home. We saw Dave Roberts earlier in the series do a double steal, which again, according to the Gospels, the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John of the Analytics Bible, don't ever do a double steal. So these guys kind of do some things by feel, take a chance. Here's the point I come back to. I want both of your comments. If Snell stays in and the Dodgers light him up, is there much criticism on this day after the Dodgers World Series win, or do you just tip the hat figuratively to the Dodgers and say they were better when Snell was rolling along? That's my comeback. I don't think very many people would have complained if you leave him in and then he gets lit up. What are your thoughts? TC, go first.
Yeah, definitely. You tip your hat to the Dodgers, but I can firmly believe that that wasn't going to happen. How many times, I'll use this example. How many times have we seen a guy, an obscure guy, get a no-hitter? And it just happens to be his night and he's rolling along, okay? You have to play this by the eye test. You have to. And everything lined up. 9 strikeouts through 4 innings, okay? 1 hit, no runs, rolling through and dominating.
Yeah, obviously
like I
rolling,
said, for
yes.
8 strikes. That's what you go by. You do not go by the binder. You don't go by the book. You throw all that out the window because, again, this is what's happening on this night. And as we know, anything can happen in baseball. This could have been that magical night. And as we see with only 73 pitches through, 5 1/3 or whatever it was, he probably could have went the distance if he wanted to. And Snell is your best option, better than anybody else the Rays had in that bullpen. End of story, plain and simple.
Brett, go ahead. Next.
TC's right about kind of that out of nowhere no-hitter. I mean, who he wasn't going to have a no-hitter, but who knows if he doesn't scatter 3 hits and have a strikeout or a shutout, and he's like a Dallas Braden type performance. And the book, I don't want to be anti-science. I don't want to be anti-sabermetrics. I don't want to be anti-analytics. But you've got to leave that field manager, that man in the dugout, with some wiggle room to play something by the gut, because the 2 teams that are most sabermetrics analytics, Billy Beane kind of started it with Oakland, and I think now out of the Tampa shop, first with Andrew Friedman, now the group now, what if either one of them ever won by it? I mean, I know Brad Pitt played Billy Beane, but Billy Beane's not ever going to see the Hall of Fame from winning anything. They never make noise in the postseason. And I'm afraid for the Rays, this might be the last best chance that they had.
That's the whole point. You were right there on the cusp, and you may not get back there. You never know if you're going to get back there in a Game 6. And it should also be noted the reliever they went to, Ryan Anderson, by that analytic book, had given up a run in each of his last 6 postseason starts, including a couple of them in the World Series. And yet you're operating by the book and not by feel. Let's put him in there to give up. Yeah, burn the book. On that. So the Rays fans are not happy. All right, I promise we're going to move off of baseball in a moment, get to the football, the college, and the NFL. You're hearing Brett Norsworthy, Stats. He's at Brett Norsworthy on Twitter. Stats, Wolo and Stats are on weekdays afternoons in Memphis, Tennessee, on Sports 56 WHBQ, the station there. TC Martin on 5 days a week in Las Vegas, tcmartinshow.com, expanding to 2 hours coming Monday through Friday in Vegas. I love their insight. Another subject on this, and it was a bombshell at the end of the game, where Fox and Kevin Burkhardt suddenly reported, oh, by the way, we've learned that Justin Turner of the Dodgers, their power-hitting first baseman, tested positive for COVID-19 and was playing in the game on Tuesday night in Game 6 before being pulled. And as we see with the photo on the screen on the YouTube roundtable, was clearly participating in the post-game celebration, not social distancing, no mask on, holding the trophy that they're all holding, kissing his, I don't know if that was his girlfriend or wife. He's around all the players without a mask on. This was like COVID guideline anarchy after the game. There is my setup. Brett, I give it to you first. Your reaction to all of this, because it was a nightmare that unfolded right after this was done.
And that photo you have of him by the skipper, by Dave Roberts. Dave Roberts, a cancer survivor who, could very much be immunocompromised. Look, it was a PR disaster for baseball, but doesn't baseball always seem to find the worst case scenario for PR disasters? Everything that happened from Snell coming out of the rest of the game almost was a PR disaster for baseball, right down to Rob Manfred being booed by the 8,000 fans that were there. And they were right to boo him, because nobody has done more destruction to his sport than the person that's the commissioner of the sport, when he was trying to hand out, as he called it, that piece of metal. He called the commissioner's trophy only a piece of metal. But it was a bad look for Justin Turner. But far as making people possibly being ill or heaven forbid, a fatality, we're at 2.57% fatalities in the United States of people that get the virus. So I don't think Justin Turner should be treated like he's Charles Manson.
Well, that's true, but by the same token, for all of the concerns and the sequestering and all of this, to find
The
out, TC,
optics.
that sure that he played
And
in the game.
a lot of this is PR and optics, but I
Sure,
do it at a consideration of others. And for
sure.
Justin Turner, it did look bad.
And the concern also is not only for your team, but for the guys you're playing against, everybody that you're around, and now they are going to potentially go and spread. Anyway, those are my opinions. TC, you have the floor for a moment before we move on to football. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think when you look at the big picture here, the way this baseball season has gone in sports in general, a lot of it is hypocrisy. There hasn't been any social distancing whatsoever. Remember when everything came out in the beginning, it was like, okay, pitchers and bench players are going to be sitting in the stands. And that hasn't happened. There's not going to be any high fives. There's not going to be fist bumps. And we saw that. Basically, everybody has disregarded everything. And there are a lot of people that feel, especially when you get in the heat of the moment in baseball, that COVID is at halftime now, or COVID could possibly be over. People and athletes think that way, or they think they are above this. If you look at that picture, no one is wearing their mask because no one wants to have a picture with the trophy with the mask that they're going to look back at for years to come. So, hey, guys, take off the mask, whatever. It is mind-boggling that they take Turner out as a precaution after they got
Right.
the positive test back. And then I didn't see him, and I was wondering what's going on here immediately. Then they bring him back out because he's adamant about wanting to join the celebration. And then when they are sitting there, no one has a mask on. So for me, I want to see was this a false positive, which we've seen
Right.
so many, and I want to see now. We don't want to see anybody else, catch this or get this or have him, with contact tracing or whatever. But what I understand, the Dodgers are supposed to test everybody afterwards, and let's see how many people come back, how many Dodgers come back with this. But it's just, I agree with Brett. Everything you're saying, it's just a bad PR move for baseball. And let's be honest, we're not taking it seriously.
Okay, and two other points. Number one, how and why were they not testing every day, especially on game days?
At the World Series.
At the World Series with only two teams. The NFL, for example, is testing every team every day, including on game day, and getting the results. And that's 32 teams.
Alabama has a better operation of testing than Major League Baseball.
And the second part of this is how in the world does the lab on a Monday morning test just get back during the game? An out-of-state lab in Utah is literally contacting Major League Baseball during the game, long about 9 Eastern time, and saying there is a problem. We've got to rerun his B sample. How is that possible?
It's baseball. That's how.
I guess that's how we sum it up. So the fallout will continue from all of this, and it's self-inflicted for MLB at the end, tainting the celebration, at least anyway, of their World Series. Okay, so let's move on. I will get the privilege, as I made mention earlier in this Three Dog Thursday podcast, of working Alabama and Mississippi State on national radio, and that will be coming on Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. When last we saw the Tide, they were very impressive against rival Tennessee in another blowout win. They did lose Jalen Waddle, one of their star wide receivers, but that guy, Najee Harris has been tremendous for them, had 3 more touchdowns in the win over Tennessee. Alabama looks the part of a national championship contender. I don't think they'll get much of a threat from Mississippi State, but Brett, I'll come to you first. Here as we come back on screen. Give me a thought here about how Alabama looks, the SEC, et cetera, just real quick.
Well, Alabama's clearly at the top of the SEC, and I don't think the SEC is anywhere near vintage this year, and I don't know that this is a vintage Alabama team. If they end up winning it, it may be Coach Nick Saban's least best national champion team, but that's a little bit like the guy that finishes last in med school. He's still going to be doctor, and they'll still be national champion if they win it. I think they've got a lot of work to do, though, with Clemson and potentially Ohio State in the college football playoff. I don't know who would be in their fourth. I don't know if Notre Dame is that good or not. But how about this for your game notes? 3 straight games, Alabama has passed on the same number for 417 yards in 3 straight games. That's almost impossible to do. There were years under Gene Stallings, they didn't throw for 417 yards in a month. And now
Yeah.
Mac Jones has done it right on that number for 3 straight. And Mississippi State's got a lot of problems. The defection of Kylan Hill. And really, since the opening game down at Baton Rouge, it's been tough sledding for the Pirates.
Yeah, Mike Leach has got it going sideways right now and got to try to right the ship for that game Saturday night. We'll have it on Compass Media Networks. Tiki Barber and I will call it. TC, we know LSU plays Auburn this weekend. Ohio State, Penn State, big game, obviously in prime time as well. We know the Big Ten, at the time we're taping this, has a controversy already with Wisconsin having to stop their practices. Their game with Nebraska is off due to COVID-19. Give me a college football thought, if you would, just here real quick, TC.
Yeah, as far as Alabama goes, I love this team, and give Nick Saban a lot of credit because he has really changed. He's one of those few coaches that has adapted. Like Brett said, being able to go through the air, that was not Nick Saban, 10 years ago. But Alabama's a machine. Really, for me, it's Alabama, Clemson. I still haven't seen enough of Ohio State. I can't put much credence into that blowout victory over Nebraska last week. And again, Ohio State's really not going to be tested week in and week out. So for me, it's Alabama, Clemson, those two, and everybody else. So again, and what you said about Mississippi State, they shocked me when they beat LSU. But again, we've seen a lot of problems there in Starkville for Mississippi State. I think you're going to be calling a blowout, my friend. So make sure you got some plenty of stories to go to in the third and the fourth quarter.
Material. One thing for sure is the SEC defenses have now figured out Mike Leach. He's got to adjust to the adjustments because the pass yardage and the points way down if they can figure it out or not. And, of course, Penn State off the dramatic loss. We don't have the time here to go into all of the overtime chaos and the great dive by the quarterback who's a Tampa bred. He's a Tampa high school product, Michael Penix of Indiana, who dove with the ball, got the touchdown, got the 2-point conversion in that instance. And as it turns out, that's a Penn State loss that they now have to overcome. And, oh, goody, host Ohio State on Saturday night. So we'll see how that game goes in prime time. We'll make a couple of underdog predictions before we're done. You're hearing TC Martin. Follow him at TC Martin21 on Twitter out of Las Vegas, at TC Martin21. Follow Brett Norsworthy at Brett Norsworthy on social media. And again, these guys are on 5 days a week in Vegas and in Memphis, Tennessee, my hometown, respectively. Speaking of Vegas, TC, I'll share the screen once more. Let's talk NFL briefly. You were there for Tom Brady and my Buccaneers. Buccaneers, go Bucs, there in Vegas. I was on with you earlier this week. Repeat what you said for our audience on Three Dog Thursday about that Brady performance in your presence there at the Vegas new stadium. What did you say and what did you see?
It was one of the most magnificent performances by Tom Brady. And I know this was not a playoff game. It was not a Super Bowl, but just the way Brady performed with the precision and the leadership. I mean, 33 for 45, 369 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. It was vintage Brady. And I really love what I'm seeing with Tom Brady, the way him and Gronk have now reconnected. It seems like Brady and that offense, along with Arians, it's getting better and better each week. Flawless performance against the Packers 2 weeks ago. Another flawless performance against the Raiders. Sure, the Raiders are banged up on defense, but the bottom line was Brady did whatever he wanted to do, and it was just marvelous to be able to see Tom Brady in person at age 43 conduct a pure clinic the way he did it.
Yeah, he did. And again, it's October. They haven't won the division. It's not a playoff situation, but they look good right now on the NFL stage. And the Steelers look good. I mean, there are several teams. The Chiefs, obviously, are the Chiefs.
Kansas City.
Yeah, so I mean, they're and Kansas City and the Buccaneers to play in November. CBS will show it all over the country with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo coming in November from Tampa. Stand by for that. Buccaneers will be on Monday Night Football coming this Monday night with the Giants. They're a double-figure favorite, by the way, against the Giants on Monday night on the road at the Meadowlands. All right, so that kind of leads us into a couple of underdog predictions as we wrap up the YouTube roundtable. Brett, to you first. Do you have a college underdog? We are college and pro football themed, but you're a big college football guy. Do you have a college underdog as I scroll up and down on the screen with the doggies? Do you have one that you like this week for Three Dog Thursday?
I'm gonna go 6:30 Central Time Saturday night, and I saw him in person when Ole Miss went up to Fayetteville. And maybe the early SEC Coach of the Year might be Sam Pittman at Arkansas, and for sure the Coordinator of the Year is probably on the defensive side, Barry Odom. The plan he had for Ole Miss, the plan he had for KJ Costello in Mississippi State, really the plan he's had in about every game against the quarterbacks he's faced. Now he goes against Kellen Mond down in College Station. That game normally played at Jerry's World, Arkansas alum Jerry Jones, but this year at his own campus. There's already a battle about where it'll be next year. Ross Bjork at A&M says it's going to go right back to Jerry's World. Arkansas wants it on campus, but this year it's at College Station, at Kyle Field. First time for Arkansas to go there since Johnny Manziel really blasted them in 2012. Give me Arkansas in the 12.5 to stay really close to Kellen Mond and A&M. I like Jimbo Fisher, but I don't love him. And the same for Kellen Mond. I think Barry Odom comes up with yet another plan to really stymie Texas A&M.
Yeah, they're no longer laughing at Sam Pittman as the coaching hire because Arkansas is winning games, which they haven't been doing. TC Martin, do you have a college underdog that you like for Three Dog Thursday?
Actually, TJ, I've got more than one. Actually, I've got three that I've kind of zoomed in on.
Give me one that
actually,
you love.
And actually four because I like Brett's pick with the hog suey pig as well too. I was looking at them. Again, pretty equal. I'm just going to give you all three however you want, and you can put it however you want. But I'm a little bit leery about the Big Ten. I stayed away from the Big Ten last week, but there are actually two games that I do like in the Big Ten, and I like the Illini at home against Purdue. As we know, Jeff Brom, has been out. With COVID situation, that sort of thing. And they still won last week. And Illinois went up to Wisconsin and they got beat. But, Lovie Smith still likes this team and there are some weapons here. And Illinois beat Purdue down last year. I believe it was 24-6. I think there's a good spot for the Illini at home, be it hardly any fans whatsoever. But I think these two teams are evenly matched. And I think the Illini are going to be able to move the ball. So I do like the Illini. Staying in that Big Ten, I do like Penn State. I know that, a lot of people are all over this Ohio State bandwagon, but I think Penn State has almost as equal talent to Ohio State. They're getting 11.5 at home. I understand the home field really does not mean as much because you're not going to have 100,000, people there wearing the white shirts. But
right.
I do like 11.5. I think Penn State will bounce back. Penn State was phenomenal last week on third down conversions, over 50%. That's a big stat that I always look at. And again, real quick, I'm just going to throw another one there. It's not much of a dog, but I like Baylor over TCU. I'm not a TCU fan in any way. My namesake, quarterback issues, and I think Baylor bounces back. So sorry to give you not one, not two, but three of those.
Hey, we'll take them all.
Take it and run, my friend.
TC, I love your third down stat. I go to that all the time too, because a team that converts them, that is the equivalent of methane gas coming in under the door. You're dead before you know it.
I love that analogy. All right, so three underdogs from TC in college football. TC, I don't know if you had an NFL doggie that you liked as well. Are you giving out another one out of Vegas? Give me an NFL underdog real quick.
Give one, and this may be a little shocker to some people as well too, but knowing this rivalry and know how close they play, and they've already met in week number 1, I'm going to take the Vikings at +7 against the Packers in this game. And I know the Vikings are 1-5. They had that bye week. They desperately needed this bye week. I think they're going to come out and play the Packers tough. They normally do, especially at Lambeau. The Packers coming off a great performance against Houston. And again, that was circled for me. I was on the Packers last week, knew it was going to be a good spot because Aaron Rodgers and the Packers usually bounce back very nicely after humiliating losses, which we saw 2 weeks ago to your Buccaneers, TJ.
Yep.
But I think this is going to be a closely battled contest at empty Lambeau. I will take the Vikes +7.
One, real quick, I got about 30 seconds on this answer. The Browns, we see it right here on the screen if you're watching us on YouTube, hosting the Raiders who come back east. They lost when they came east against New England. They had a tough defeat with the Bucs, yet the Raiders are the road favorite. I know no Odell Beckham with the knee injury out for the year for Cleveland. TC, do you have an opinion real quick on that? Vegas Raiders favorite on the road?
I really don't.
Okay.
These are two teams that you just can't trust, and I will be far, far away from this game.
All right, stay away. And he's in the Vegas angle out there out west. All right, one more time. Love these guys. Again, you're hearing the voice of TC Martin. Follow him at TC Martin21 on Twitter. You see it behind his head there, the TC Martin Show, 5 days a week in Vegas, tcmartinshow.com, expanding to 2 hours What is that? 5 to 7 Eastern time, 2 to 4 Pacific time. I have that correct. Weekday afternoon starting Monday. They can't get enough of you, babe. You're going to be on 2 hours, 5 days a week starting next week, right?
I kind of feel like I'm getting back to home because I haven't done a 1 hour show like in my lifetime until I came back to Vegas, but with time constraints and schedules and all that sort. So yeah, it's been a long time coming. Great. So finally
they
getting
love
back
him.
to,
They
that
love
2
him for
hour
the
thing where, so it's going to be good. And like I said, just tune in when you can, 2 to 4 p.m. Pacific time, tcmartinshow.com.
And catch the Brett Norsworthy. Brett, thanks for being on. You and Wolo do a great job 5 days a week in Memphis. I always love chatting with you, brother.
And I thought I would get a Memphis Tiger pick because I wanted to throw the Tigers in there against Cincy this weekend.
I think I kind of like Brett, Cincinnati in that one. I think Luke Fickell maybe puts one on the Tigers.
Maybe. All right, we'll see what happens. And that's a rematch because Memphis beat them twice last year.
Double revenge.
Exactly. Yeah, double revenge for Cincinnati. Guys, great
Good call.
job with Brett Norsworthy and TC Martin. The podcast continues with Brian Edwards coming up for the audio podcast here on Three Dog Thursday. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.